Let me start by saying this. I am not the villain here. I am not even the anti-hero. I am just a regular guy. 43, a software engineer with a mortgage, a golden retriever named Moose, and a taste for overpriced whiskey, and a wife who thinks I am a liar. Well, more than thinks. She knows I am a liar even though I am not. And that's the ironic part of this whole story. She went looking for dirt. She got mud in her mouth instead, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's rewind a bit. Her name is Becca, short for Rebecca. We met in college, married in our late 20s, and bought a house in the kind of neighborhood where kids ride bikes, and dads obsess over lawn height. Becca is beautiful. Type A planner. The kind of woman who schedules spontaneous sex 3 days in advance. I used to find that endearing. Now I just find it bureaucratic. We've been married for 12 years. That's 144 months, give or take. But who's counting? Apparently, she is. Because one random Tuesday in October I found something odd wedged between our couch cushions. It looked like a receipt. A boring one. From a place called Griffin & Co. At first glance I thought maybe it was a dry cleaning service. It wasn't. I Googled it later alone in my car as I waited for my burrito bowl at Chipotle. Turns out Griffin & Co. is not a dry cleaner. It's a private investigation firm, and the receipt wasn't for laundry. It was for a retainer fee, paid by my wife, to follow me. The amount? $5,000. I stared at the screen so long my food got cold. My first reaction? Confusion. Then, disbelief. Then, a dark, slow-burning rage. I wasn't even doing anything. I wasn't cheating. I wasn't sneaking around. My most exciting extracurricular activity was binge-watching old Sopranos episodes in the basement with Moose. But according to this receipt, Becca had decided I was guilty until proven otherwise. I guess my late nights, at work and occasional solo hiking trips had raised her perfectly plucked eyebrows. Or maybe she was just bored. But hiring a PI? That was a new level of paranoid. I didn't say anything at first. That would have been logical, mature, open. But when someone spies on you without cause, you don't respond with logic, you respond with strategy. Because if she wanted to play detective, then I was going to give her a case worth solving. The next morning I went to work like usual, kissed her on the cheek, told her I'd be home late. Client meeting, usual BS. Her smile didn't reach her eyes, which confirmed it. She knew something, or suspected it, and now I knew she knew. What she didn't know, I knew she knew. Let the games begin. Now, before you judge me, understand this. I had spent the last 6 years making every sacrifice a man could make for a woman. I stopped watching football on Sundays because she said it was mindless aggression. I learned how to fold fitted sheets. I even stopped drinking milk straight from the carton. I was not a perfect husband, but I was loyal, consistent, honest. And this was my reward? Getting followed by some middle-aged creep in a Toyota Camry with tinted windows? Nah. That afternoon I walked around downtown for a bit, just to see if anyone was tailing me. Sure enough, a silver Camry 3 cars behind me at the stoplight. Same one I saw in my rearview mirror the night before when I went to pick up groceries. Classic rookie PI move. They're supposed to switch cars every few days. Guess Becca got the discount package. I smirked, then took a hard right into a parking lot, exited through the back, and walked straight into a coffee shop. I bought a latte and sat by the window, watching. 10 minutes later, the Camry rolled by. I made a mental note. Balding, sunglasses, big camera lens on the passenger seat, amateur hour. But it confirmed everything. Becca had activated full-blown CIA mode on her own husband. And for what? Because I spent too long in the shower? Because I sometimes smiled at the cashier at Whole Foods? It was insulting, so I decided it was time to return the insult. With interest. Over the next week, I made myself busy. Very busy. Late work meetings that didn't exist. Phone calls taken in hushed tones on the porch. Suspicious text messages sent to myself from a burner app. I left lipstick on my own collar. Took photos of random women's shoes on our welcome mat and deleted them just fast enough for the PI to maybe see the edge of a heel on the Ring doorbell. I parked my car 3 blocks away and walked home. I changed my cologne. Started humming unfamiliar songs. Even left a bra in my glove compartment. Tag still on. Did I go too far? Maybe. Did it feel good? Absolutely. Moose thought I was losing it. Becca thought she was winning. And the PI? He was probably high-fiving himself at every blurry photo he snapped. It was all very theatrical. And deeply satisfying. One night, Becca asked me if I was happy. Random question over dinner. I was slicing into a medium-rare steak. She barely touched her salad. Sure, I said, chewing slowly. Why? She shrugged. Just wondering. You've seemed distant. I resisted the urge to smile. Work's been stressful, I replied. But you know how it is. She nodded, bit her lip. I could see the wheels turning in her head. I could almost hear the internal monologue. He's lying. He's seeing someone. I knew it. I just need proof. She wanted to catch me red-handed. She wanted betrayal. So I painted her a masterpiece. By week 3, I was practically daring her to confront me. I started humming French love songs, left wine glasses in the sink, 2 at a time. Sprayed a different perfume on my jacket every other day. She didn't say a word. But the tension in the house, thick enough to spread on toast. Then came the final straw. Becca accidentally left her laptop open. She never does that. Ever. So of course I looked. And there it was. A folder labeled Log Griffin. Inside, photos of me. Blurry. Grainy. Me. Exiting the gym. Me walking Moose. Me standing at a bus stop next to a woman I didn't even know. Me talking to a barista at Starbucks. The captions? Unidentified female. Possibly romantic interest. I laughed out loud. Moose looked up from his bed. This was pure comedy. The folder had dated entries, notes, times, places. They were watching me like I was some kind of mob boss with a mistress in every zip code. But the best part? There was a report summary, it read. Subject exhibits behaviors consistent with deceptive activity. Strong likelihood of infidelity. My only real crime? Messing with a woman who wanted so badly to be right? She forgot what was true. And that's when I decided I wasn't just going to play along anymore. I was going to flip the script. She wanted a villain? Fine. I'd give her a damn supervillain, but I wasn't going to cheat. No. That would be too easy. Too obvious. I was going to do something much more brutal. Something that would make her question everything. Not just about me, but about herself. Because Becca didn't want the truth. She wanted confirmation. She wanted drama. Well, she was about to get the performance of a lifetime. Curtains up. So, there I was. Sitting in my car, sipping lukewarm coffee, staring at a man I now knew as Doug. Doug was the private investigator my wife hired. And no, I didn't find that out because he was particularly clever. I found it out because he used the same Gmail address to register his dog grooming appointment online, with his real name. Yes, Becca had hired a man who could track my steps across the city, but couldn't figure out how to use incognito mode. You just can't make this stuff up. I followed Doug for 3 days. He was boring. Parked in lots. ate from gas stations, wore the same pair of New Balance sneakers every day, wrote in a little notebook. I thought about waving at him once. Instead, I took a selfie with him in the background and set it as my phone wallpaper. Just a little souvenir, because if someone was going to stalk me, I might as well have fun with it. And then came the idea. The moment that changed everything. I was in the shower, of all places, lathering shampoo into my hair, when I thought, what if I flipped the whole thing? What if I made her believe I really was cheating, but not with a woman? What if I planted the seeds of something so unexpected, so outrageous that her own fantasy of betrayal would implode? A man? Yes. She would never see it coming. It was cruel, petty, immature, and I loved it. The next morning, I drove to work, parked in a different spot, one that gave me a better view of Doug's Camry. I called my friend Jordan. Now, Jordan is an old college buddy, gay, hilarious, drama magnet, theater kid who became a yoga instructor, lives for chaos, exactly the man I needed. Hey, I said, want to play a role? His answer? Do I get to wear leather? God bless Jordan. We met that evening at a bar downtown, the one with the dark lighting and overpriced cocktails with names like Urban Decay and Daddy's Regret. I made sure to stand close to him, lean in when I laughed, touch his arm a little too long, and of course, let Doug take all the photos he wanted from across the street in his dusty Camry. Jordan was eating it up. Do I get to kiss you? He asked mid-margarita. Not yet, I replied. Let's build some tension. The next few days were cinematic. I changed my phone wallpaper to a picture of Jordan and me at the beach from years ago. Nothing romantic. Just enough to raise eyebrows. I left a scented candle burning in the guest bathroom, one Becca didn't recognize. I wore tighter jeans, bought skincare products, started humming show tunes. I even changed my Netflix history to include Queer Eye and some obscure French LGBTQ dramas. Subtle, strategic, perfect. Becca was spiraling. I could see it in her eyes. She'd smile, but her teeth didn't unclench. She'd ask how my day was, but her voice was brittle. And when she caught me texting Jordan in the kitchen, I thought she might combust. What's so funny? She asked. I looked up, smirking. Just Jordan. He sends the most ridiculous memes. Her face didn't move. Jordan had just texted, "Tell your fake boyfriend he has great taste in cologne." I turned the screen toward her. A photo of two dogs in Halloween costumes. One was a hot dog. The other was a taco. Becca blinked, laughed, tightly, and I knew. She was one day away from hiring another PI just to follow Jordan. Mission status, escalating beautifully. But the real masterpiece? That came the night I pretended to come home drunk. Now, let me be clear, I wasn't drunk. But I played it like DiCaprio on Oscar night. I stumbled in, slurred my words, kicked off my shoes like they were lava. Becca rushed over, eyes wide, voice full of fake concern. "Are you okay?" I smiled. Sloppy, mysterious. I just needed a night out. "Where were you?" "Nowhere." "Who were you with?" Pause. Then I looked at her, right in the eyes. "Jordan." Silence. I walked past her and collapsed on the couch. Moose came to sniff me, probably confused. He knew I hadn't even had a drink. Becca stood frozen. I knew what was happening inside her brain. Flashes, the photos, the reports, the receipts, was all coming together in her mind, and none of it was true. But that didn't matter, because now, she believed it was. The next morning, she didn't speak to me. She cooked eggs, burnt them, scraped the pan with too much force. Her jaw was clenched the whole time. I whistled while I poured coffee, pretended not to notice the tension radiating off her like a busted radiator. Then came the next play. I opened a new email account, used a fake name, and sent an anonymous message to her inbox. Subject line: "You deserve the truth." The body of the email: "Your husband is not who you think he is. Check the guest bathroom drawer." I hit send, waited. 15 minutes later, I heard the drawer slam open upstairs, followed by the kind of silence that hums. Inside the drawer, a travel-sized bottle of lube, and a bracelet Jordan had given me as a joke that said, "Yaz Queen, Becca." Didn't ask questions, she didn't have to, she had confirmation now. Her own version of it anyway. I had built a whole narrative, one I controlled, and here's the kicker. There was no affair. There was no betrayal. Only theater. Only performance. Because I had been loyal, but she hadn't, not to me, not to us. She chose suspicion over trust, and I was just holding a mirror to it. That night she cried in the bathroom. I heard her. Did I feel bad? A little. But mostly, I felt power. For the first time in years, I wasn't on defense. I wasn't explaining where I had been or why my shirt smelled like vanilla from the air freshener at work. No, I was the enigma. I was the man she thought she knew, unraveling before her. And then came the confrontation. It was inevitable. We were sitting on the porch, crickets chirping, wine in hand. She turned to me and asked, "Are you in love with him?" I didn't flinch, didn't blink. I stared out into the darkness and said, "I think I'm in love with feeling understood." She didn't respond, just stared ahead, silent, devastated, exactly where I wanted her, because this wasn't about Jordan. It wasn't even about me. It was about Becca's choice, to spy, to doubt, to betray the very foundation of our marriage. And now? She was drowning in the fiction she created. I'd just added some color. The next morning, she suggested therapy. I declined. Told her I needed space. Slept in the guest room. Left my cologne on Jordan's fake bracelet on the nightstand. Let her draw her own conclusions. She stopped cooking breakfast, stopped folding my laundry. We were living in a cold war. Silent battles. Passive-aggressive landmines. Exactly what she signed up for when she hired someone to follow me without a word. But it wasn't over. Not yet. Because the final act? Oh, that was going to be my masterpiece. One final twist. One move she'd never see coming, and it was going to blow her trust issues into 1,000 glittering pieces. Because if she wanted a broken marriage, I was going to hand her the hammer, wrapped in velvet and smiling. She had no idea what was coming. Not a clue. Becca was still walking around the house like someone who just watched their favorite TV character die in slow motion. She wasn't crying anymore. No. She was thinking, scheming, trying to figure out her next move. And I was 2 steps ahead. Always had been. Now it was time for the grand finale. The climax. The gotcha that would make even the most cynical PI raise an eyebrow. Because if Becca wanted evidence of betrayal, I was going to give her one last glorious chapter. Only this time, I would be the one writing the ending. Let me take you back 3 days earlier, after the fake email, the bracelet, the lube, and all the carefully placed emotional landmines. I knew she was close to breaking, but Becca was proud. She wouldn't admit she'd been wrong. She wouldn't confess to hiring a PI, and she definitely wouldn't apologize. No. People like her double down, and that's exactly what she did. I came home one evening and found her sitting at the kitchen table, glass of wine in one hand, manila envelope in the other. The envelope was thick, heavy. She slid it across the table without a word. I opened it. Inside were photos. Dozens of them. Me and Jordan at the bar, walking into his building. Leaving his building, the bracelet, the jeans. The smirk on my face, it was a highlight reel of her paranoia. She had printed them, labeled them. She even added sticky notes. April 9th, stayed out past 11 p.m. April 10th, suspect cologne scent. I couldn't help it. I laughed, out loud. Because it was all so dramatic, so tragic detective TV show. She flinched. You think this is funny? No, I said, still chuckling. I think it's adorable. Her jaw clenched. Her voice dropped. Are you cheating on me or not? I leaned in, smiled. Do you believe I am? Silence. That was the moment she realized the trap she was in, because I had never confessed, never said the words. Everything she believed came from her mind, her assumptions, her decisions, and now she was begging for confirmation. I wasn't going to give it to her. Oh no. Not yet. Instead, I stood up, kissed her on the forehead, and said, I'm going to Jordan's. Then I left, and didn't come home that night. Of course, I wasn't with Jordan. I booked a hotel room, ordered overpriced room service, watched a nature documentary, slept like a baby. Meanwhile, Becca was probably tearing through our closet, looking for more clues. Which brings us to the next morning, the moment, the big reveal. I came home. Calm, clean-shaven, coffee in hand. She was waiting in the living room, hair messy, eyes bloodshot, phone in her lap. Did you sleep with him? She asked. No preamble, I sipped my coffee. Do you want the truth? She nodded. I smiled. Fine. I walked over to the coffee table, pulled out a small folded letter from my jacket pocket, placed it gently in front of her. What's this? Read it, I said. She unfolded it slowly. It was typed. No emotion. No decoration. Just facts. It said, Dear Becca, congratulations. You wanted a cheating husband, so I gave you one. Except I didn't actually cheat. You see, when you hired a private investigator to follow me, you broke something important. Trust I know about Doug. I've known since the second day I saw him. I followed him. I even got his favorite gas station coffee. Hazelnut. Weird choice, by the way. So I decided to give you exactly what you were looking for. I created a story, a fantasy, a performance. You thought I was having an affair with Jordan. Jordan was in on it. He thinks this whole thing is hilarious. There was no lube, no affair, no secret life, only your fear, your paranoia. Your decision to treat your husband like a criminal. And now you have your evidence. Not of cheating, but of how far you were willing to go to confirm something that never happened. I won't be staying here anymore. The guest room was never for me. It was for you. I've already packed. The movers come next week. I'll be filing for divorce, and yes, I'll be using this letter in court. Sincerely, the husband you didn't deserve. She read it. All of it. Twice. Her hand shook. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. And then, she laughed a bitter, broken laugh. You're insane. No, I said calmly. I'm liberated. She tried to play it cool, like she wasn't caught, like she had somehow won. But I could see it, that tiny crack in her confidence, that moment when she realized she had destroyed something precious just to be right. The next few days were quiet. She didn't try to stop me. Didn't beg. Didn't scream. Maybe she was too proud. Maybe she was too stunned. Maybe she knew I had outplayed her. The movers came on a Thursday. I took the dog, the records, the espresso machine, the good towels, left her the memories, let her sit in the empty house she'd built on suspicion. My new place, a loft downtown, clean, quiet. Mine. Jordan helped me move. He brought champagne. Laughed the whole time. "You are a sociopath," he said, toasting. "Maybe," I replied. "But at least I'm a free sociopath." I started therapy. For real. Not because I was broken, but because I wanted to make sure I never let someone break me again without noticing. Turns out my marriage had been dead for years. I was just the one who kept watering the corpse. Becca tried reaching out once. Sent a text. "I'm sorry." That was it. Just 2 words. No punctuation. No explanation. I didn't respond. She didn't deserve closure. She had burned the bridge, danced in the ashes, and now wanted me to throw her a lifeline? No, you don't get to spy on someone, lie about it, and then cry when they don't want to be your friend anymore. Let that be a lesson. If you treat someone like they're unfaithful long enough, eventually they'll become a stranger. And not the kind you want back. Now, I wake up alone. Peacefully. Moose snores next to me. I make real coffee, play jazz, go for walks without being followed. I even started dating again. No Jordans this time, no performances. Just honesty. And one rule I live by now: if someone can't trust you without proof, they don't deserve you with it. So if you ever think about hiring a private investigator to follow your partner, maybe ask yourself this first. Are you afraid of what they're doing? Or are you just afraid of being wrong? Because sometimes the truth isn't what hurts you. It's what you thought was true that ruins everything. And I would know. I lived it. The whole thing. And I made sure she never forgot it.